I don't quite know what's going on here. I searched for the original power pack for these Hoover stick vacs, could not locate them. Bought a power supply on Shopee, which is a local online store. It was one of 26 volts, could only get up a variable one up to 24.4, so I plugged that in and so I was doing this when I went to bed last night, came out this morning, had a green light. I thought, oh, good to go. Unplugged the power pack and pulled the trigger, nothing. Okay. So I took the battery pack and put it in the other head unit we have, pulled the trigger, nothing. Okay. Either the battery pack is not well, or the head units have basically said, or after 4 years sitting idle, I'm going to do nothing. So I've requested 6 of the 18650 cells to be purchased. That's going to cost about $9. They're basically cheap here. And I'll solder them into the other battery pack and try that one. And if that one doesn't work either, we'd say, right, that means that the head units need to be delved into more because the motor's seized. But I'll put that off until I've confirmed. Meanwhile, this was green a couple of hours ago, and I tested and I plugged it back in and it's still blinking, so given that the motors didn't run, it shouldn't have used any of the battery charge, so not sure what's going on there, but we'll solder on. Well, I came down here half expecting to see this cleared out. Kubota told me that yes, it was overflowing over the back fence, so they thought they needed to do something about it, and so they've sold a chunk of it. Obviously a lot more to go. But what they use this stuff for is firing bricks. Bricks aren't made in a brick kiln like they would be in Australia. Here that you sort of stack them up appropriately with this stuff spread amongst them and set it on fire, and it burns slow and hot, although it's going to be a bit wet at the moment because over the last 3 days we've had almost 120 millimetres of rain, and yes, it's the dry season. So yeah, I guess they've taken about a quarter or a third of it, so plenty more fuel here for them if they want to come back and take some. And I don't know what price we get for it, but whatever it is a bonus. And Jabita's geese have room to get back into the house now. It's feeling a bit guilty about never getting on and fixing things. I've got 2 power supplies driving strings of the party lights over here on the gazebo, and they're both wired to that top power lead over there. Currently, when I turn that on, this set of lights here comes on for a second and goes off again. I don't know whether that one does or not because I have to be down there to have a look at it, but with that on, neither set of lights is on, and their power comes to here. So I think I need to examine this to see whether we actually have proper power connections in here, since it's driving both transformers. Could be that this wire was a bit fine and it's causing trouble, in which case I can run a second string, double it up. But yeah, so Need to get out the multimeter and have a look at that. The other thing I want to do is go and play with the connections on the oil pressure sensor on the genset, because I'm fairly convinced now, my current theory is that it's just a bad connection, because when I put the new oil sensor in, it worked perfectly, said 58 psi, rock steady. Then subsequently, when I ran, it wasn't nearly as steady, and then a couple of days ago there was a run from 25% state of charge on the shed here. It ran until it was a bit north of 70%, and then it stopped. And I came over subsequently and saw it was the oil pressure warning. So it ran for quite a while before it stopped, but nevertheless it did. So given that I've replaced the connections, I figure that it must be the actual posts on the oil pressure sensor. The connections are not getting a good stable connection there. It sort of gets corroded after a while or something. So I'm going to have a go at cleaning those up, scraping them, and see what that does. But I can see that Dad Egg's added some of the rice husks as organic material mulch over in his garden over here, and he and Jabida are currently harvesting cassava from that walkway. So the hat you see is Jabida. She doesn't like being on camera, so I'll let her hide behind the bush. But yeah, so cocoa tree, cocoa tree, cocoa tree, cocoa tree, cocoa tree. So I'm hoping eventually to get cocoa pods off of these. And on YouTube there's chocolate making from cocoa tree to table or mouth. So you got to harvest the beans, crack them out of the pod. Sorry, harvest the pod, crack the beans out of them, which is a slimy mess. You let them ferment for a while, and then you dry it, and then you winnow all of the husks and everything off the cocoa nibs. Once you've got those, then you grind those up. Or do you roast them first? I think you roast them first, and then you grind them. So yeah, so there's an art to knowing how long to ferment it, how long to roast it. I believe it's 25 to 30 minutes in an oven at 250 degrees. So I'll use that as a baseline and go from there. And then you grind the nibs. Now I actually have a melanger, which is a stone grinding wheel thing. What would it be? Probably 25 centimetres across. Which I bought before I came up here. It was in the shipping container that came up, because I've got plans even for these. Well, it's back in Australia. Right, I'm going to have a go at making chocolate. So that might happen before I get to aquaponics, which is the other plan that I've got a whole lot of stuff I bought for in Australia that came up the shipping container. But Jabida's not very enthusiastic about that, and that kind of makes me less enthusiastic than I was. I still want to do it, but there's other things that come as a priority before that, and that's my favourite hard worker. Elder stepson Dadang, very hard worker. Yeah, well, it's Friday. Haven't really achieved much this week. It's a case of one step forward, two steps back. But oh well, next week will be better.